You are joining Inside the Life of retired Army Major Spencer Hervey, who to me is my uncle. The reason why we're talking about this, and the reason why this is titled Exceeding Your Expiration Date, if you've watched the other videos, and hopefully you did, and you're up to speed, there was a phone call after leaving the VA hospital. Upon driving to his driveway, they were rushed in an ambulance to go to Wisconsin for a double lung transplant. 6 months has passed with no operation. The donor, the lungs had depleted. So now you're going to the meetings, you're encouraging others at the hospital. What happens now?
Well, I'm dealing with life one day at a time right now, and I'm thinking in my mind, okay, if I could just make it through this one day at a time scenario, I'll be okay. But I was getting weaker and weaker as time was going by. And I got to the point that it was difficult for me to walk around. So they gave me a walker. And I got to the point that it was difficult to walk with the walker, so they put me on oxygen. And then it became difficult to walk with the walker with oxygen, so they put me in a wheelchair. And then it became difficult to move the wheelchair, so they put me in an electric wheelchair. And at my 6 month time frame, I was sitting there thinking about this situation, because I had a lot of time to think. I was thinking about this situation, and I realized that I had been there 6 months, and something was going on. Something was wrong with the picture, because I watched so many people receive their transplants. I listened to so many accidents on TV, and it just seemed to me like it was somebody out there for me. But the only thing that had gotten me through to that point was God and prayer. And I kept feeling God telling me, don't worry, your time will come. I told you I have you. At this point, I woke up one day and my phone rang next to me at the bedside. And I picked the phone up, and it was the nurse. And the nurse was saying to me, I think we have your lungs. Let me call you back. Well, I thought about it, and I realized in my mind that about 3 or 4 days before that, the doctors had me over in the hospital, and they said, okay, we're not sure how far this is going to go, but we're going to make a promise to you. And that is that we're going to keep you alive as long as we can. And so I took that, and I went on back to my room. And then she called back and she said, we flew a team of doctors out. And I said, what do you mean? She said, haven't you been watching TV? And I said, no. She said, turn on CNN News. And when I turned on CNN News, there was a big situation going on with some students being shot. And they've been shot at a campus called Virginia Tech University. And they didn't know how many were shot and killed. And they were trying to corner the shooter. So I watched that, and all of those parents and the students that had perished, it all came flooding on my mind with what I was going through here in Madison, Wisconsin. So I just started praying. When life gets difficult, that's what I do. And as I was praying for those students and their families and all that they were going through, the phone call came, and she said, we think we've got your transplant. We're coming to get you. And so I went to the hospital. They came by, got me in the ambulance, went to the hospital. And they took me up to the preparation room. And as they were preparing me, the doctor said, basically, we got a call from Virginia. And the doctors have said they're talking with some parents and checking the situation out. And they believe that they have a transplant for you. And about no sooner than they said that, the phone rang and they started talking, and they came back and they said, it's a plus. We've got your lungs. The doctors are flying your lungs back to you, back here. And I said, well, that's going to take forever. He said, no, they're coming by Learjet. They should be here in a matter of time. They'll call us once they arrive. So we're going to prepare you. And I sat there, and about 6 hours later, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, the phone rang. And the doctors walked over to me and said, I know we've been a pest to you, and we've been talking to you about some of everything, but we have been just concerned. We don't know what it is or why it is that you're still alive and you're still breathing.
What do you mean?
We thought, the doctors said, we're so concerned with your condition. I was down to 129 pounds, and I could barely talk, and I couldn't get up and walk. And they were telling me that they were so concerned with how far I had depreciated that they thought I should have passed at any moment. And so they were taking turns talking to me. They were telling me about their life, telling me about their history, telling me about the city, the hospital, some of everything. And I was trying to figure out, and my wife was trying to figure out, why this big interest all of a sudden, but they said that we were concerned that you would pass at any moment. And so we were just monitoring you. But we've got some good news for you now. We also have some bad news. So which one do you want to hear?
Now, in this situation, when you're talking about good news versus bad, I think that you probably have heard enough bad to trump what bad news they already have coming.
Yes.
Any good news is good news.
That's right. So I said, tell me the good news.
Mm-hmm.
They said the good news is your lungs have arrived. They're in a helicopter that's landing on the roof as we speak. So I said, well, that's great. Understanding that and knowing what I'm getting ready to go through, can't be any bad news. They said, no, the bad news is they just monitored the cooler, and it looks like the left lung has died. And the right lung is so weak that they don't know if they're going to be able to utilize it. But they're bringing them down, and we're going to check them. But we're going to prepare you for this operation. So we went into the operation being prepared. And as they were preparing me, they came into the room and they said, it's a go with the right lung. But we're going to have to make the same promise to you, Major, that we made later in the past. And I said, well, what is that? They said, we're going to keep you alive as long as we can. And so we prayed for a moment, and then the doctors left the room. And when I woke up, I had a horrible sensation in my chest, but I was able to make it through a cloud and began breathing. Well, they train you when you're going through a lung transplant. They train you that the lung is the only organ in your body that must be pushed by the person that's receiving it. Because when you first receive the lung, it's not breathing. Then you've got to get it to pump it and breathe. They'll massage it and try to get it started. But then as soon as you gain consciousness, you've got to start pushing it. And so because I had already left my left lung in that was critically wounded, my breathing and keeping me alive was that left lung. When they put that right lung in and I got my first breath out of it and I woke up, I had to constantly breathe in and out as deep as I can, because now you're training an organ to function. And so in order to train a lung to function, you got to push it to capacity, or you'll only get the capacity that you push. And what I mean by that is that the average person, I learned through this experience, the average person uses only 11% of their lungs. So if you only use 11% of your lung, the rest of the lung is kind of just sitting there. When you're running marathons and you work out and you're breathing hard and you're doing that cardio stuff and you're doing your thing, that's great for the human body because it uses it expands the capacity of your lungs. So in order to make this new lung breathe, the new lung is like a baby. It's a new territory. Your body is fierce, and your body fights off all kind of problems that occur in it. And your body doesn't recognize that new lung. So they put you on medications. These medications basically uh, confuse your body. So they don't recognize there's something new here. And when they don't recognize it's something new, then the body works with it. But as soon as they take you off that medicine and your body says, it's a stranger here, let's fight it, it will fight that organ. So that began me on another journey. This journey was taking medicines. Today I take about 35 different pills a day. And taking these different pills, each one of the pills has a reason. Some pills fight off the immune system. Some pills strengthen the immune system. Some pills fight the side effects of other pills off. And then some pills enhance your vitamin B and vitamin C and vitamin D in your body. But all of these are part of what a doctor goes through with each individual lining up what they call a pill cocktail today. But as I got that transplant and I was laying there in the bed, realizing that I was still alive, the nurse walked into the room and looked at me and said, "Major, you got to get on up." I said, "Get up? I just went through an operation." She said, "No, that's not the way it works. You got to put this organ to work right away if we're going to be successful." And Antonio, within about 5-10 minutes, they had me up, walking through the hallways of the hospital with all these machines and tanks around me to help me breathe.
Right.
And I just thank God. I wanted to fall down on my knees, but I couldn't do that. So I had to lay down in the bed and just go to God and just thank him for allowing me to wake up.
You know,
but now I'm on a new mission to try to recover.
You know, it's interesting that you went through all of this. You went through a tragedy, and in your body now is somebody who values life so much that they sign and mark a box on their driver's license to help continue life in somebody else once they pass.
That's right.
And if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for an organ donor,
yes,
you would have already expired.
Yes.
You were on borrowed time.
Yes.
And one thing that you said to me is that when you are given a second chance at life,
yes,
make the most of it. Don't
That's right.
squander it. Make the most of it. Because you had an opportunity to live that Vegas lifestyle and go all in and just whatever happens, happens. Blow it, success, whatever. But now with this next chance, you've made it your life's mission to help those around you, to leave your mark.
Yes.
Why is that?
I think as you go through life, what happens is that people take it for granted that they know what they're doing and they're going to live forever and they deal with life. But when you get to the point that you're faced with your own mortality and you know that there's an end and you have a good idea as to when that end is going to be here and it's not very long off, then you have to take a real good look at what it was I've done, who it is I am, and what was it that I really wanted to accomplish in this life. And did I do the things that I thought I was going to do? And at that point, for me, I realized that there's a whole lot of things out here that people think about from day to day. But then you realize who's special to you? Your family. You know, when you're gone, who's going to think about you? Your family. You work a job for 20 years or for 50 years, and the day you leave, that organization has to replace you and put somebody in your place. And they do it, and you're gone. And you may or may not be thought about a day afterwards. But years after you're gone, your family thinks about you. Why do your family think about you? I spoke at a funeral, at my uncle's funeral, up in Gary, Indiana, not long ago. And I told the audience when I spoke at that funeral that we are a family that recognize each other and remember each other. And I could see a questioning look on some of the people's face. And I said, that's why we name each other after each other. When you look at me, the average person says that's Spencer. One of my family members says that's Spencer, but his father's name was Spencer. And his son's name is Spencer. Now his son's name is Spencer. So it's 4 Spencers that they think about just from that one name. And so long after I'm going away from here and you're going away from here, there may be people that may think about us, and there may not be. But the people that think about us will remember us for different reasons. And so you learn when you go through this type of experience that you are in a situation where you need to do what's important. You need to recognize what's important. And all those other things that you do, I remember one day laying there in the bed after I got my transplant and I was finished praying. Then I went back to God and I said, God, what is it you want me to do? And he was very simple in his answer. He said, just breathe. Your job is find that next breath. And that was very simple and it was very clear. You know, I speak a lot about speaking with God and talking to God. But that's who brought me through this situation. I woke up one morning about 4 days after my operation with a pain in my chest that was so horrible that it was like somebody was inside of me with a red hot poker and they were trying to burn through the skin in my body to try to get out. And it was so horrible that it woke me out of a deep sleep on medications and made me rise up in the bed. And then when I rose up in the bed trying to run from the pain, it made me jump out the bed. I jumped out the bed on the right side connected to these machines, standing there next to the bed, and the pain was so horrible that the only thing I could do is close my eyes, and it was like I was in a haze. And so the only thing that I could do was go to God. And as I went to God and started speaking to God and tell him, I need your help. I need your help. I felt God come back to me and say, no, you need to get in contact with a nurse and get some help. and I was standing there, I'm standing there saying, God, I can't breathe. No, to get a nurse. I can't, only thing I feel is pain, you know?
Yeah.
And so at that point he said, look, on that bed is a monitor they had put in your hand. The only thing you had to do was press the button. Mm-hmm. But now you've jumped out the bed on the wrong side of the bed and the button is on the other side of the bed. He said, you got to press that button. Mm-hmm. And as I went through this situation in my mind, I couldn't get to the button and end up putting my leg up on the bed. Well, I felt like in the conversation I was having with the Lord, he said, if you can't be in with your body, just pick your leg up and use your leg to use your foot to pull the cord over to you. And then you'd be closer to you. I said, Lord, if I pick my foot up, I'm going to fall into all these machines and die here on the ground. And I felt God tell me, just do it. How do you live through life? You live through life by just doing it. And I went through all I could to get that wire over to me. And he said, now take all the energy you have and bend and press that button and just deal with it. So I did that. And when I pressed that button, a pain went through me so horrible. I rose up and I felt myself blacking out. And as I was blacking out, I heard a voice. And the voice said, "May I help you?" It was a nurse in the bed.
Anybody who has been in the hospital and that voice has been annoying,
Yes,
it was a voice of an angel in this moment.
that's right.
And for you, your doctors said the expectancy of life is 7 years. Now, I know the answer to this question, but I want to hear you say it. How many years have gone by since you've had that conversation with that doctor?
Well, in the conversation with the doctor would refuse to tell me what the life expectancy was.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things they did to transplant recipients was they gave you a little book.
Mm-hmm.
And this book had all the updates in the transplant world and what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And in the book that they gave me, when I turned to life expectancy, it said 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So the doctor would only say it's an individual thing. It depends on how good a shape you're in. And it depends on whether you take your medicines or whether you obey the situation.
And how many years has it been since then?
Yes. What ended up happening is that today is I'm working with my 14th year now.
14 years.
14 years now.
So is it safe to say that you have exceeded your expiration date?
I have exceeded my expiration date. My expiration date was on average 7 years. And now I'm in the second part of my second chance to live. So God is a God of not just second chances, but third chances and fourth chances. You just got to know it in your mind and know it in your spirit and just do what you can do. And I think if you help others, he'll help you. I tell you, if I could encourage anyone, it would be to become an organ donor, because my organ donor, I received his lungs. In the room next to me, a friend that I've met there in the hospital received his heart. And another young lady who had been waiting there for at least 6 months received his eyes. And so that one donor helped 3 people continue and have a second chance. And so if you don't get anything else out of this conversation, become a donor and help others. And God is great. He's a great God.
Well, Uncle Spencer, I thank you for your time. And I just got to tell you, that's right. Check that box, because once we expire, let's help others.
That's right.
Do the best they can to hopefully make this world a better place.
That's right.